build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance to spit in his eye. Well, they gave me ball, but I can see between to a dusty yard and a long gone green. They call that freedom, if you know what I mean. And I dry my sorrows, but the whiskey's gone. I'm sober.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Longbangers. I'm Matty. I'm joined tonight, as usual, by John. John, how are you doing?
I am utterly speechless because the legend that Lewis Stevenson is in the room.
I've ruined the surprise for the folk who are
Never
listening.
shut off an introduction, but you can't get that now.
Josh is with us as well. Josh joining us as a finder's fee for setting up this podcast interview with Lewis. Josh, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. Wasn't for the night. How are you?
Bro, yeah, nice one. And obviously, Lewis Stevenson has joined us tonight as well. Lewis, how are you doing?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
This is the third time I've asked you how you're doing tonight because we recorded a wee bit just before that, and then we started before the podcast started as well. So, Lewis, first of all, thanks very much for joining us. Josh, what are you doing?
I was going to say, it'd be a bit worrying if his answers got less and less positive as we went on.
Started off good, but bored out my tits now.
Just lines in back of my tail.
Lewis, thanks very much for joining us. We'll going to have a wee look through your career at Hibs. Quite a distinguished career now, which I'm not sure if you saw it being quite as a distinguished career when you first started out. So, how did you come to join Hibs in the first place?
I was at St Johnstone, and Alistair Stevenson, who was the youth coach at St Johnstone at the time, came to Hibs and basically took the whole team. We had a trial of St Johnstone against Hibs, and they picked like the best players from that match. So it was about half and half, and I think I was 13 or 14 when that happened, and the rest history, kind of, you could say.
What was it like at Hibs at that time? Because that would have been before the training centre was built.
I used to train 3 nights a week, one night in Dalkeith, one night at Leith Academy, and one night we trained at like Mary Erskine, the girls' school, on the AstroTurf. So it was strange. To be honest, at the time we probably had a more secure setup at St Johnstone. We used to train outside the stadium, and I don't know, it was a bit like, is this really Hibs have came in? But no, we had a good team. I enjoyed it, and I took for granted the amount of time and then all the travelling Mum and Dad used to have to do to take me through.
It's quite a big ask at that age as well, isn't it? Because you're Glenrothes, is that right? Or Kirkcaldy?
Kirkcaldy, I am.
Is there anyone in those from that youth team that you're still playing with now, or is still in the game?
Nah, not really. It was Darren McCormick was the one who kind of came through at the same time.
What happened to him?
Look, you see, technically in that he was brilliant. As he just, I don't know. I don't know if he didn't get a chance but both feet, big strong boy, and it was a shame because he had a bit of everything. Like, and I've probably seen many, and I've seen many of those people come through, and it just doesn't quite work out.
I mean, he was quite highly rated as well, wasn't he?
He was good.
Tip for big things.
No, he done well. Came through, and as I said, had a bit of everything. He got sent off against Hearts one time. I think he elbowed Palace
Hero.
That's a name for you. So he elbowed Palace, got sent off, and just maybe disciplinary issues and stuff. It was a shame because he was a good guy. As I said, he was the one that was in that team when I was 13, 14 that we both kind of came through at the same time. And
then you made your debut 2006. Roughly, was it 2005, 2006 season? Was that Mowbray that was in charge then?
Mowbray was in charge. I don't know but just left school. I actually stayed on until 6 years. Just left school, went on a lad's holiday to Magluf for 2 weeks, and came back 3 days later. Someone was off to Ireland with the first team in a pre-season tour, so it was a bit of a shock to the system. I'd never been full time around before, and David Murphy had an ankle problem or something, so travelled with the first team. Never been so nervous in my life, but had some good games over there. We played Shamrock Rovers. I played another team where Paddy McCourt was playing, and I gave away a penalty by tackling Paddy McCourt. So it was good. It was a bit of a whirlwind start, but I had a wee while in the first team then and back to the youth team. So it was a good wake up call for me.
What was that transition like? So what what happens as a youth player when you get in the call up to the first team? How does that kind of practice?
Honestly, it just happened so quick. It was like the second in, we were just doing like testing, the physical testing, like bleep testing and stuff, and Mark Venus pulled me over and went, "You're coming to Ireland with your son." I'm kind of looking like, what? And then Alistair told me aside and went, "I need a left back." I left back, and they've asked you to go. And I was a young one at the time, and I could see like the older ones in the team thinking like, how's she got the chance to go? And probably at the time I was like, I felt pretty lucky to go. But I remember the first couple of training sessions I done pretty well, and the boys seemed to like me, so it worked out all right.
Am I right in saying you were going to study politics at Dundee Uni or something?
Aye, well, I had applied to study politics. I got like an unconditional. I actually tried to go to Edinburgh too, but I didn't get in. But I was supposed to go to Dundee to do politics, and Hibs offered me a contract. And do you know what? I wasn't even that really in. But like I loved playing football and that, but I thought when it got taken too serious and that, I was like, I didn't really think I was going to make it as a footballer. And I don't know, my pals were going to uni. It just seemed like pals were going to uni, pals were starting apprenticeships, and I don't know. I was never really into football as much as what people might have thought at that age. But like I'm glad I've done it now. I think I don't know if I just heard all the stories about these people trying to be a footballer and not making it, and I'd seen a few of them myself, that people growing up in my area, and I don't know. I thought I'd be the same, but luckily I hung in there and managed to have a decent gig at it.
So if the football hadn't worked out, were you going to be a politician? What was the plan
that's the thing. I never really knew what I was going to be. I was decent in modern studies. I really liked my modern studies teacher, and he told me to go and do it. He said you'd be quite good at it. I was all right at debating, stuff like that. And I never really had a fixed kind of mindset on what I wanted to be. So probably just because I like my modern studies teachers, he took a kind of shine to me, and he told me, trying to persuade that you never know, the country might not be in this bother if I actually stuck at it and tried it.
So what age were you when you thought, like, you realised, I could have a career in this, like pro football?
Look, I always liked thinking the lifestyle. I always loved to play football, playing in big stadiums and almost acting like a footballer. But I don't know, it just seemed to be taken so seriously, and I don't know if I was ready for it. I just kind of was quite a laid back person, wanted a laid back life, maybe a more party life kind of thing. But probably my girlfriend at the time, I was obviously married to now and stuff as well, and like she kind of kept me on the straight and narrow and told me to get the head down and make a good go. Obviously, mum and dad as well, I'd put all that effort in, so kind of try and repay them a bit, I suppose.
Very good. And Mowbray's team sort of goes down and is generally regarded as one of the best teams that Hibs have had, certainly like in the modern era. What was your impression of that team, and then breaking into it when you were playing with some of the guys? What was that like?
I couldn't believe how young they were. I mean, when I came through it, that first trip, I was only 17 or 18, but even boys that had been in the first team for 2 or 3 years were only a couple of years older than me, and I was like, this is pretty mad. They all had the same kind of blonde haircut, and as you said, they finished third, playing some great football, and it was mad. It was almost like a school trip they were on. Couldn't believe how young and almost immature everyone was, and I just seen these people playing on the telly in massive games, holding their own against Rangers and Celtic, and then kind of sitting in the changing room beside them, sitting on team buses beside them, going out for drinks after training with them in these tours, and it was pretty mad. It was almost like I was sitting with celebrities. These were big names in the football circuit, so to speak. And look, it was a great time. Tony Mowbray was brilliant. He was brilliant with me, and everyone really liked him. There was a proper buzz about the place. It was probably a good time to come in.
What was it that made him a good manager, do you think?
He had a charisma and an energy, and people respected him so much. I think I just remember anything he said, I would kind of take it and nod my head. He's like a father figure to all these young players coming through, and no, I think he's a realistic. He wanted to better himself. I don't think he planned on being at Hibs for 20, 25 years, and I think he wanted the players to go on and better themselves, try and make good money out of the game, and No, I don't think I'm saying any secrets here about that. I think he's doing a good job if he can get people to move on. And like, to be fair, it worked out because a lot of these players moved on for big money. They made the club money, and he went on to have a very good managing career as well.
I get what you're saying. I remember the press conference where they unveiled him, and I was sitting, sad to say, in Edinburgh, and we were sitting with my wife at the time, and they said, "Okay, here's the new manager," and it's Tony Mowbray, and I'm going, "Fucking hell, Tony Mowbray!" Like, it was like totally out of nowhere. I think I can't remember the name of the guy who was tipped to do it, maybe for St Johnson. His name's totally gone out of my head anyway. That's not important. But Mowbray's first press conference, he started talking about how he wanted to play football. I think he said like a phrase like the upward spiral. But like if you start playing well, you get more fans in, you get more money. You can play better, you be successful. And for that first press conference, I was totally sold. So I get what you mean if you're saying like you had that charisma right for the start.
He had a bit of everything, but there's a word they always used to use was humility. Humility. I was pronouncing it very well, and I had to go home and like check what it meant. But I used to put that up everywhere, and it was just him in a nutshell, and that's how he wanted his team to be. Was to be. I'm not going to try and explain humility. You can Google it and hang it, but I don't. You know what I mean? It was just a kind of perfect word to suit him and suit his team in the way he played.
And when you mention humility, it brings us right on to John Collins coming in. So Mowbray left, John Collins came in. Humility probably wasn't the word that was first linked with Collins. If the kind of the stories that went around at first, but Collins won the cup. So 2007, and you obviously man of the match in that game. What was that like? The whole build up to the cup final and the game itself.
Look, it was a day I'll never forget. It's obviously the first cup we'd won in ages, and a special moment and day for everybody. I hadn't been playing that well at the time. I'd been took off a few games, kind of in and out of the team, so I never really expected to play. He took me into a meeting the night before and told me I was playing, and me and Kev McCann were in the room, and it was, I don't know, it was mad. I couldn't sleep all night and didn't tell any of my family or anyone I was playing. I was just kind of just get the heat and get through this night, and hopefully it works out all right. And I just remember the first time getting the ball and making a decent pass, and it kind of settled me down. And like I still say to this day, I played pretty well that day, but there was probably 10 others that could have got man of the match. I don't know if it's just my age and stuff that helped me get it, but like it was a thing that kind of annoyed me because for years it was like I was always known man of the match, and I could see it coming. I was like, people are going to expect me to go on and fucking go on a great thing. Do you know what I mean? And,
yeah.
It was kind of always used against me that I quite hadn't lived up to my expectations, but I think that was for everyone else to see. I was still happy with the way my career was going.
When you're playing in games like that, and the crowd's obviously as electric as it was, like is that loud? Do you find it tough to focus, or is it just kind of like you're in a state where it's like it doesn't matter how loud?
As you say, you're in a state. It's like an out of body experience. It's like things you learn when you're 10-year-old playing in the park with your pals kind of just takes over. Your instincts take over, and I still can't remember like team instructions, or I remember Scotty and that kind of saying to me like, calm down, like, because I kept dribbling with the ball and it wasn't really my game. I used to kind of get 1-2s and stuff, but it was probably a nervous thing. I just think you get it to dribble with the ball and hopefully find somebody. And I remember the manager saying at half times, you're showing a great energy, you're doing really well, just keep going. And like as I said, everyone at Man played really well that day, and it's a day I'll never forget.
Has there ever been a moment during any game where you've just taken even just a nanosecond to appreciate where you are and what you're doing? Just even listening to the crowd, maybe singing your name, for example. I don't know.
I don't know. That doesn't happen often. Like, or maybe.
Oh, it does. I do.
You didn't around the shops, John.
I probably the older I've got, the more I've kind of took it in, because you don't know when it's going to end, kind of thing, especially before games. And I always try and take 5 seconds to myself just to kind of soak in the atmosphere. Say a few prayers. Not that I'm religious, but say a few prayers in my head that hopefully don't make any mistakes. And like it's something I'll probably take it for granted. And especially this season when there's no fans, no atmosphere, you kind of forget what it was like. And it's definitely something I'll miss. Is the nervous energy and just the sheer adrenaline that a game can bring to you.
So we were pretty comfortable that game. Obviously, Rob Jones scores, and then the scoring goes 3-0 and 3-1. And I know in the stands when Kilmarnock scored, I was like, oh fuck, we've seen this story before, eh? And
Not even that.
The boy
keep
beside me
pressing
just
yourself.
went, "What are you worried about? We're all over them." How did you feel at that moment? Like, did you think we were all right?
The second half, I felt all right. Obviously, you shit yourself a bit when they score, but first half I don't really played that well at all. I mean, we were maybe lucky to be 1-0 up at half. Was that 1-0 up at half?
I 1-0 half time, yeah.
So I think second half we kind of settled down, played a bit better. And I've still never watched the game back actually, like the full game. So it's maybe something I'll do when I hang the boots up.
Why have you never watched it back?
I don't know. I've never really one for watching myself. I don't know. Just the way I shuffle about and that doesn't. It's not very. It's not very easy in the eye, but.
Maybe if you watch it back, you'll reassess that man of the match award.
Maybe maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I've just never really been one for. Obviously, I watch it at match meetings and video analysis and stuff, but play well or not play well, I just didn't really like watching myself.
Fair dues.
Or
that season, so we won the cup, and it was like obviously everyone remembers the emotion of sunshine on Leith and everything like that at the end of the game, and kind of like we celebrated it after it, that, but we still had a good chance of a double that season because we had Dunfermline in the cup semi-final, but the wheels kind of came off the season a wee bit. Obviously there was the stuff with Collins that happened. What was that like for you as a young player? Obviously you've got experienced players who aren't happy with what's going on. You're a new player. Were you in like an awkward position where like the manager's giving you a chance, or were you quite comfortable
probably
with it?
But to be fair, even the older ones, they never really brought us into it. I think they knew the position we were in. I mean, we were still getting changed in the youth team, changing them, so we were probably sheltered for most of it was going on. Look, the manager was really good to me, so I can't really complain. It would be two-faced for me to say anything, but you could tell there was something going on that you could tell people weren't happy. But for me, it was still an early stage. I was just getting my head down. I was still doing all my apprentice jobs and stuff like that, so I had plenty more on my mind, like washing balls and cleaning boots and stuff like that to get involved in that. But look, it was a strange time, and as you said, it could have been an even better season. We had a great chance, and Dunfermline was a weird one. We went to the replay and stuff. There was nobody there, and I think they scored a penalty. Did they penalty or something?
Jim McIntyre.
Chrissy Hogg give her a penalty.
That's right. So, and looking, and even in the final, Celtic won 1-0 or something. It was a scrappy game, and as you said, it could have been us. We had still had a great team at that time, and the wheels kind of came off. It was disappointing. You said it could have been a lot better.
I think. Sorry, go ahead, Josh.
How do you pick yourself up after like a defeat like that, like in a cup semi-final or a final, like a really important game? Because obviously that's a football. It's quite relentless. Like you can't really dwell on it. You've got to move on to the next game. Like, how do you go about just kind of trying to force that out of your head?
Well, the games come thick and fast, but because it was the end of the season, it almost dwindles away, and just like if it ends up like you're playing games for the sake of it, it really shouldn't be. I think that season almost summed up by we had the cup parade at Easter Road in a derby, and we got beaten in the derby, and it was like we're going round after getting beat by Hearts with the trophy, and it just, I don't know, that kind of set the tone for the rest of the season.
That summed up that. See, what I remember that day, obviously, is apart from coming away annoyed because it was meant to be a good day, is I had a white T-shirt and it had two Subbuteo figures on it. So there's a wee maroon one lying down, with a green and white one standing over it. Right, and Josh was a toddler at the time, and he was asked me, "What's the T-shirt?" And I said, "Well, that's Scott Brown and that's Paul Hartley," and that was kind of how I would describe what happened. I said, "He's just kicked him," and I dropped Josh off at Mountcastle at my sister-in-law's with my wife, went to the game, came back. I'm obviously in a shitey mood because we'd got beat and the parade hadn't gone to plan. And so went inside, had a cup of tea, and then when we came out the door, as we come out, there's two young laddies, maybe kind of early teens, with Hearts top on, walking just in the street, and Josh just ran after them and kicked one of them. I was like,
All right.
what are you doing, Josh? He's obviously kind of made the connection between me teaching him bad,
Like,
bad
I was
habits,
a-
or good habits, whatever.
He's still doing that
Hibs
to this
loyal
day,
from a
Josh.
young age.
Seen him
I,
at Tesco doing that. Somebody.
I was saying, Louis, that's why you see me going in for my refreshments, is just to cool me down so I could get out there again.
So the 2017 was probably the tail end of that great Mowbray's team. Collins won the cup with obviously added to the team. Then we kind of had like a spell where the team was really unsettled. We had loads of players coming in and out, and like you look at some of the signings that were made over that time, even for like after Collins, you've got Mixu coming in and Yogi, and like the standard of signings went back up again when Yogi came in. He signed a couple of cracking players, but as a player, and there's obviously the joke's always made when folk are talking about how long you've been at Hibs, about how many managers you've seen of, but you'd be amazed if you try to count out how many left backs or your left side midfielders you've seen. What's like as a player when you see that sort of churn in the squad?
It's weird that it kind of felt normal at Hibs, to be honest. It seemed like every year and every transfer window we were bringing loads of players in, loads of players were leaving. It was never, as you said, it never felt settled. It never really felt like a team for a while, if you know what I mean. It just felt like players coming in, coming out, give this a bash, give that a bash. And I don't know, it's hard to put your finger on it. As a player, when somebody comes into your position, you do kind of think, right, this guy's coming in here to try to take my place. You kind of need to buckle down. I'm almost friendly with people, and I've never really had any animosity between people. But I think for years I was probably seen as the second choice left back, the second choice. And they would try and bring somebody in, and they probably weren't good enough, and I kind of managed to keep my place. So it's probably only been the last 4 or 5 years I was probably the first team left back, and I've done alright. Obviously, things have changed a bit now, but for me, it'd always be better to see a young boy come through and kind of take my place rather than bringing somebody up the road that's going to be here for 6 months and try and get a move. So, that's football. It happens everywhere. It happens every team, every position. So, but as you say, just as a team, it just felt like there was too many signings probably coming in. We didn't really have an identity. Don't know what kind of football we played, but I don't think there was probably a great relationship between the team and the fans, and that kind of suffered for a good 5 or 6 years, I think.
Are you think? Sorry, John, on you go.
Oh, I was just going to ask whether you think, Lewis, that sort of merry-go-round, if you like, the sort of, I think of it as being almost like an 18-month cycle of new managers at that point, and new players coming in, old squad getting shipped out, new squad getting brought in. Do you think that maybe hindered Hibs' progress during that period, kind of post-Collins, pre-Jack Ross, even? With the exception of Alan Stubbs, maybe.
Stubbs, I would go wise on with that question.
Look, that's quite a big time frame. It's kind of been, as you say, a whirlwind, so I can't really pick out moments in between them. But I think Stubbs was a successful leader. I think Lennon was a successful leader. Obviously, Jack Ross we're doing brilliant now, so it seems to be going pretty well. We seem to have an identity, and it's hard for me. I'm kind of stuck in the middle. It feels like a washing machine I'm in, so it's hard for me to kind of pick out any moments that really defined it. But I think maybe there was too many changes, but the team wasn't successful, so they probably had to make changes. So it's just
it's a bit of catch-22, isn't it?
I know it's hard to put the fingers in, but hopefully we've got a bit of security now, and I genuinely think the club, in general, for the infrastructure to the youth academy to everything seems to be going well. It seems to be in the right place, and I think there's a good rapport with the fans and the team, and everyone seems to be pulling in the right direction.
That's good. So you had we were looking at this as kind of preparing for it, and try to look at things to call out for different managers and everything, and you kind of realise there's a few managers that weren't here for that long or didn't really do too much, and then I was thinking, so Mixu, probably the thing that jumped out for me from Mixu was the Barcelona game, that stood out for on. So you played that game up against some superstars. What was it like playing against these boys?
It was strange, obviously. It was like they're playing a different sport. They were that good. But I remember before the game, and it was me and Ian Murray in the middle. Dean Shields was playing, and there was like obviously scattered replays, but there was like bus skits. It was like they're not even playing like the real players. This is rubbish. I hope we're going to play against all the best players. And obviously he went on to win 2 World Cups, European Championship, I don't know how many Champions Leagues and La Liga. So like just an honour to be on the same pitch as them, and I said just the way they move, the way they control the ball. It's scary. It was proper like sitting after that game. Like I've been playing football for all this time, kicking a ball since I've been 4-year-old, and couldn't get near them. It felt like I was in the wrong job. Like.
I think I'll be adamant until my dying day that if we'd played them at Easter Road, we'd have beat them. Murrayfield.
There was a boy next to us who he was raging. So I didn't care him. He was in the seats next to us. He left it 3-0. He was absolutely fucking raging. Like he was just disgusted at it. And we were looking at him going, I reckon how you like what were you expecting to happen here?
The best team in the world at the time.
I mean Barcelona did the treble that season, didn't they? The Champions League, the Spanish Cup and the Spanish League, the one.
To be honest, see as players, we were probably there to see them take. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like it's a big occasion for us to go and see these players in real life and be on the pitch for them. So I don't think we were really treating it like a real game.
I think it was pre-season as well, wasn't it? Like it's no as
if
if
just a pre-season game. No, I think they played Dundee United as well at Tannadice. So maybe they should have won then. But look, it was brilliant. I didn't get a top. I came off at half time and kind of shuffled the team a bit at half time. There's a few us came off and I didn't get a top, so it's got to be nice.
It's quite cool to say though that you played in the first ever time Messi wore the number 10 shirt. Like
that's right. I remember somebody saying that. It was Henry and that was playing Good Johnson, like some top players.
You need to try to steal that off Dean Shields.
What's that?
You need to try to steal that off Dean Shields.
Nah, he got an L. To be fair, Dino was actually really good that day. I remember kind of thinking, geez, he actually looks like he could play it. This level kind of, he was brilliant. I think I only touched the ball 2 or 3 times, but that was enough for me. 45 minutes, that'll do me off again.
You mind that Alan O'Brien got played through at one point, and you're thinking, I see we're going for a wee chance, and then you remembered it was Alan O'Brien, and that was that. What I like to think is there's probably somewhere in Spain a podcast just now with some Barca fans sitting with Messi saying, "What was it like being on the pitch with Lewis Stevenson?"
That's right, aye.
I wish I'd got his shirt.
Well, we've always got a photo. There's a photo of me chasing after Messi, and he's got that private place in his bedroom. So that's a nice photo. And
you should tell him that Messi's running away for you.
That's right. I remember, do you know what? This links in there. I remember seeing him having a glimpse because we tried to get the strips at hanging. We seen like Messi, and he was like, you know the guy for Narnia? It's like Mr. Tumnus. He's like half. Honestly, see the bottom half of his body was just like massive. Like but his actual legs are just huge. I think it's so powerful and that. So
did you say that?
Just like a different. Nah, I didn't want to shout through like a fanboy, but the kit man swiftly told us to get out, and that was it.
Fair dues. So you went through then. So from Ixu to Yogi to Calderwood. Just what was Calderwood like as a manager? Because I think the only thing I really remember for Calderwood's time was going to Ibrox and winning 3-0. I think you were on the bench for that game.
I was on the bench. I wasn't playing that day, but I think we went. I spent like 6 games in a row winning, which Hibs teams didn't usually do. But I think apart from that, there was nothing else to know. He was a great guy, really nice guy. I just felt like he was maybe always suited to be a number 2. I don't know if his heart was set in it. His family all lived down the road and stuff, and like a nice guy. So I can't really. I just felt like maybe his heart wasn't really in it.
Aye, but he could have said as much. Didn't he? He got offered was it Nottingham Forest or somebody were interested in the bag of sweeties press conference where he said, you got to have a look in the bag of sweeties before deciding if you want a sweetie.
That's right.
I think that was kind of it for him.
No, but I say a really nice guy, so I don't like it. Same bad about him, and he was good to me. So
he was very highly rated as well. I remember speaking to David Forsyth around about that time, just after he left, and he said that Hibs had gone, like they'd had references from like the top of the game on Calderwood about how good a coach he was and how much of a coup it was to get him on board in the first place, and that's why the board were really reluctant to let him go. You know,
It was really good, and I think he was
said they
highly
went
thought
out.
of, especially down south. But
Would you say
maybe
there's
more suited as a number 2, probably.
would you say there's some similarities between like Heckingbottom and Calderwood in that sense?
Nah, they were totally different. Heckingbottom was really tactical, done everything like perfectly. It was mad because honestly, we used to do tactics from Monday to Friday, like non-stop, the most drill thing, out of possession, in possession. I remember like my family were like, I'd speak fancy, "Do what these do? James, look, he's doing it." And I was like, all we do is tactics at mid, and they come across like that. I just think maybe in Scotland, there's no point. A lot of the time, it's just being better than your opposite player. I don't mean to put the league down or that, but you know what I mean? We were setting up presses against Hamilton, and the goalie was just kicking it. He wasn't playing it for the back. It was just like, I don't know. It just didn't quite work. But again, honestly, he was the most hardest working guy ever. He put everything in it. Even when he got sacked, he came round and he's like thanking everybody, and you feel terrible, like almost feel like you've let him down kind of thing. He put his life and soul in it, and I think he would be a great coach. I think he's an academy coach at Sheffield. I know he's in caretaker now, but I think he'd be brilliant at that. He's like, seems so astute. He's like coaching wise, really, really good. I just think sometimes I maybe need something a bit different to be a manager, and it's not just by the book is what you think. But another great guy, and I can't really talk too negative.
Dad, I like the. I'll let you go.
No, go ahead, Josh.
Dad, I might be you would say about Heckingbottom, like I was there because obviously we went on a long run where we were just constantly drawing games. And I was like, you could see it's like we weren't. I don't think we were a million miles away under Heckingbottom. Like there was clearly a plan there, but it just always seemed like we were kind of always trying to be too deliberate. Do you think that would be a result of like the just constantly working tactics? Because there didn't seem to be that much freedom. It was more like every attack we did would be planned. And you get teams like
possibly
that.
Possibly almost like felt maybe like too robotic at times, or I don't know. But I think maybe just when he done an interview and kind of lost the fans, I think he took Scott Allen off, and that is just, I don't know. It was hard to get back for there. But even the game after, like Dodgy wasn't scoring, and as soon as he left, he scored that hat trick, and it was just, he must have been cursing us all that day at St John's. So.
Dad, do you mind that game where Scott Allen got subbed off? Like why it was terrible for us, because we were sitting there. It was like a few minutes before Scott Allen got subbed off, wasn't it? Like it was kind of a bit of a flat atmosphere, and then the kid next to us was the kid next to us or in front of us.
He threw up, didn't he?
Projectile, like for 8. So you're sitting there. I've moved seats. Then I'm moving. Then all this booing starts. It smells of sick. It's booing. That put me off him just because of the association. That kid made me want Heckingbottom sacked.
The question I was going to ask was, Lewis, just when you mentioned there about high press and Hamilton keeper kicking things out, just, you know, so it kind of counteracts everything that you've been training for all week. Do you as a player...
bad example, we didn't do it against, but
no,
stuff like that, do you know what I mean? We'd
just
get
for
off
argument's
technical
sake.
and stuff, and at the end of the day, it was who would win second balls and stuff in Scotland, and who would take their chances rather than all these high sophisticated presses that we set up.
Aye, so when stuff like that doesn't work as a player, it doesn't matter whether it's Heckingbottom or any other manager or any other system that you're trying to do you as a team collectively try and do something different, or do you always try and follow what you've been working on throughout the week?
Like maybe at times we're probably too high, like institutionalised. We end up just doing what we're told, and we should be taking things in our own hand. I think, and the manager now, especially, you know, he wants managers on the pitch as well. He wants us to kind of manage situations ourselves rather than being told what to do like robots all the time. So I think you do need to kind of take things into your own hands sometimes if things aren't working. Like, I don't know, even see like Rangers have been the best team in the league this year, but they try and do this play it for the back. But sometimes they're just playing one long, and that's what's getting them up the pitch. That's what's kind of, so yeah, you do need to kind of take a bit of initiative yourself sometimes and play more off the cuff. I think when teams come too predictable than they're easy to play against.
So but after Calder with Pat Fenlon came in, so I can't know how much you want to talk about the Pat Fenlon era, because we had 2 cup finals in Pat Fenlon, and neither of them particularly went to plan. I suppose, just as a kind of morbid curiosity, see for the 2012 final, did you know it was going to be a bad day going into it? Because it looked like it, like for the stands, it looked like for
no, it wasn't like that. I thought I don't know if we thought we were going to add the game, but look, something I hate talking about. We never really thought it was. We never thought it was going to be bad. If anything, probably thought the opposite. We were kind of maybe too confident, and like I know we weren't a good team right at the time, but the annoying thing is Hearts weren't that good either. I don't know how we both managed to get to the cup final that year. It definitely wasn't like we thought we were going to win. I think if anything, I definitely didn't think it was. We thought we were going to get beat. If anything, I think it was maybe the opposite. We thought we were going to win, and it was weird. See with Pat Fenlon as well. I know we didn't even have the best of times, but I played probably some of my best football those 2 years. I was playing centre midfield, and I personally thought I was actually doing all right that season. But I suppose you didn't get a lot of plaudits when you're down the bottom of the league, and that kind of gets forgotten about.
Was it Pat Fenlon that signed James Collins?
Yeah.
It was that.
I remember, I think it was maybe against, I want to say Kilmarnock, and this is honestly one of my favourite Hibs memories. I think Collins plays a ball for you and you almost strike it first time. And it was almost like the whole of East, because you didn't score that often. But I think any time you do score, it tends to be from outside the box.
I almost striked it. Does that mean I totally mishit it, or was it?
No. Sorry, I can't quite remember if you hit it first time or if you took a touch. But I remember it just sailing into the far corner of the net. It was just a beautiful finish. And I just remember the whole of Easter Road being on its feet and the entire team surrounding you. And I don't know if I'm maybe looking back at this with green specs.
Kilmarnock game, I think it was. Because Craig Sampson was the goalie at the time. He's at Hibs now, goalie coach, and I like.
Do you remind him about that goal?
I do remind him. He actually mentioned it to me first, but I've reminded him since. Like,
is that not under Butcher?
I think that was Butcher, maybe just at the end.
Was it Butcher?
It was Fenlon that signed him. I remember Butcher actually giving Collins a rollick and saying, "How much did you fucking cost?" After a game, it's just like. That's
what happened so Butcher came in after Fenlon left after we got beat by Hearts in the League Cup, which I thought was harsh because we battered Hearts that night for up until they scored. I think we hit the bar twice.
There was a big protest after the game in that.
Aye, but I always thought that was harsh because obviously we're on the wrong end of the result, and you never want to be on the wrong end of the result against them. But
we actually played all right.
We could have been 3 or 4 nothing up.
Yeah, that's just football in general. It's results-based business. So, that was just a horrible time to be involved in the club. Really, I think I feel like we had a few fans after the game, and it wasn't nice. It was horrible scenes, and like I probably didn't cover myself in glory, but I'm sure a few fans didn't.
It's just being passionate in it. We all have those moments, Lewis. So Butcher came in, and then I think for Butcher there was an initial turnaround. I think we lost 1 game in 9, and then we drew with Dundee United, and then the wheels just completely fell off. As a player in the squad at that point, did you see it coming that we were going to get relegated? Like, was there a sense that?
No, see that stage where we were like grinding at 1-0, so as you said, we weren't getting beat because we were playing that direct. We were that solid unit. I was like, it can't really go wrong, eh? We weren't playing nice football. I remember it was just like whenever in their half, just get it in the box. Didn't even beat nice goals, just like get it in the box. And it was like, I've played against teams like that, and it's horrible to play against. It's like relentless. You just feel like you can't get a break. So that was the kind of style I adopted. It wasn't that pleasing in the eye, but I don't know what happened. I don't know if we kind of gave into pressure the fans wanting us to play nicer football, and I don't know, but as you said, the wheels fell off. I think we only needed 1 win for about 3 months at the end of the season, and it didn't come. And even after that first leg, like Butcher was giving it on the pitch, but I wasn't that confident going into the game at Easter Road, and I think that game at Hamilton, Hamilton were the better team at Hamilton, and obviously Jason scored these 2 goals or whatever it was. And, aye, but like saying that now, I still didn't think we maybe would have won the Scottish Cup if we got relegated. So every cloud, I suppose, but it was it was a strange time in the Championship as well, as I'm sure you're going to ask me about.
We'll come on to that in a minute. Josh, you got a wee question there?
Am I right in saying, Peter, you can talk about this, but Butcher, a couple months, well, a while before we actually got relegated, like leading up to that, he'd already told most of the squad like that they weren't in the plans for next season. So
There was a few I was getting told. I don't know if it was during the season or at the end of the season. I never actually got pulled in to say I was getting told. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but maybe not getting paid enough, so they wouldn't really making money if they got rid of me. But I remember even at the end of the season we got relegated. We were in the next day, pulling people in one by one, basically saying that's you. And then I don't know what to say their names, but I know a player got told he could leave, and then as soon as he got home, Rod Petrie kind of emailed them or phoned them saying, "Look, didn't listen to that kind of thing."
This is something that I wanted to ask about, because I've got this vague recollection at the time of you being on a list of people that was basically being told that they were free to go, and I don't know how true that was. I found it crazy that you found yourself, or you might have found yourself on that list at the time, but the whole circumstances, the whole setup at Hibs at the time was crazy.
No, I never actually was on that. Well, I never got pulled into that meeting or told. He pulled me in and just said, "Look, you've actually kind of done it right this season. It's going to be tough and chat." Like, I never really told I was leaving. Like, I'm sure you see and read things all the time that aren't true. But, look, I know people the other way that were kind of thinking like, "You've been told I can leave. Like, I didn't want to play in the Championship. This is perfect for me." But like, I don't think I could have done that, even if I got told. You all feel like you're jumping up, and those years were horrible. Even talking about them now, man, I'm feeling like talking about.
Thank God he didn't sell you. That would have been worse than getting relegated, I think.
I don't even need to sell me. Like, I just tell me I could leave. I don't need to make money.
Just anything. Butcher would have had questions to answer there.
I think Butcher's one of the only exits that I can remember for a manager where they've not had like that. So you're talking about Heckenbottom going, and I think he still talks fondly of the club, and the club are still, everybody that I've ever spoke to at Hibs, when they talk about Paul Heckenbottom, I've never had a bad word said about him. Like they're all said he was quite a popular guy. Same with Fenlon, everybody talked about how hard they worked and so on. But with Butcher, there was just like it was like a parting of ways, and
there was a way I never seen again. Yeah,
we don't speak of him anymore.
It was strange. As I said, like we never really fell out or anything. And even when I know people have tried to get videos like ex-managers when I made my 500th game, and they said everyone got back was told like wasn't to date, and then Butchers just didn't get back to them. Right? So he's obviously got a bone to pick with me too. Maybe it was on the list, and I'm sneaked up after.
You're so sick that day. So they were relegated, and Stubbs comes in, rebuilds the team, and that was like a big turning point. What was life like at Hibs at that point?
That was strange. We came back with no manager. There was a sports scientist for the PFA that was our manager, so to speak. He was taking us for a run. We didn't have the ball out for the first 2 weeks till Stubbs came in, and I had like 7 or 8 players at the time. Young, obviously filled with like young boys as well. And it was weird. I remember Scott Allen kind of coming in. Was that when Scott come in at the end of August time or something?
He was a bit later on.
And I remember him saying like, is this it? Is this almost like, is this him? Is this what I've signed the kind of thing? There's a few players like that, and look, he managed to assemble a pretty decent team that played some nice football. And like, I know we didn't. I obviously didn't win the league that year, but it generally could have been a lot worse.
And there's a bit of a turning point for you, I think. in terms of, so you mentioned that you played some good football under Fenlon, not obviously done well enough under Butcher that he was looking to move you on. But for the outside looking in, I think for sort of round about that point, you absolutely nailed that first team spot. Do you know, like if you say who's Hibs left back, it's Lewis Stevenson.
Probably, I think even with Fenlon, I was still playing midfield. Butcher, I was like left midfield, kind of left back sometimes. But I think when Stubbs came in, he went, look, you're my left back. Focus on being a left back. He said, your attributes suit being a left back. Be a left back. I like a left back. Because even in training, I would still kind of play all these different positions, and it's probably to my detriment. So when he came in, he said, look, you're a good left, really good left, or good left back. Just focus on being a left back and make yourself better. I probably done all right those first few seasons.
Did you like? Were you aware of changing anything about how you approached the game or anything like that helped? Or?
No, really. See, when I was speaking at that sports science, well, when that sports science came in, to be fair, he did. That was one thing he said. Look, I can't teach you football. I'm not a football coach, but I'll get you fit. And it was probably the fittest I'd ever been. I know when Dave came in, we were all in really good condition, and especially when you're playing against championship teams, I think that kind of gave us the edge in a lot of games.
And what was that season like for you? What stands out for that first season down in the championship?
It's all a bit of blur, but obviously we had some good games against Rangers, and we went on a good run at one point. I can't really, but you know, going like 18-game run, like getting beat or something, and like Hearts ran away with the league because of the poor start we got off to. But like a good cup run, and like I know we were in the championship, but it was kind of, it felt like a better place to be. The fans were coming back in droves, and seemed to be going in the right direction.
Was it after the first few games? Because I think like the first few games in the championship, we didn't get off to a good start at all. Really, was it a bit of after that you were sitting there going, "Oh, in hell, here we go. We've gone down and nothing much has changed." Like before the big upwards spiral.
To be fair, the manager he was really positive. You know, he wanted to get the players on side, and we didn't have a big group, but you know, we had a close group of players where, you know, everyone wanted to do well, everyone working hard. It was a good changing room we've been in. Everyone was getting on well, and we managed to pull through that tough start to the season and do all right in the end.
If we wanted to get players on side, he's lucky he didn't have Colin Nish up front.
I've heard that with Nish, yeah. I've heard something more about that the other day.
The most offside man ever. The next,
special lives was flies going up now.
The next
thing, size 13 feet.
The next again season, we're obviously the one that will live long in the memory.
You talk about Nishi, by the way, he's so underrated. I feel bad. Like I know the kind of people like slag him off and that, but see, he's a finisher, the most natural finisher I've probably played with.
He was in the top 10. Top 10 SPL scorers. I reckon if he still is, but he was for long enough.
You get these players that kind of, but a great guy in the changing room as well, and I feel sorry for him for some of the sticky guys.
He has got a very good goal record.
No, he was a good player.
Are you saying that he's a more natural finisher than, say, Riordan or Cummings?
No, maybe I'd say he had a bit of everything. I could say, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but 1-on-1 with the goalie, he had everything. He had like that wee pass finish. He was obviously 6'3", he could head the ball, and I don't know. I just felt like he got too much stick than what he deserved. I think.
Loads of players have been through him like that, though.
Yeah, I know.
So that season, the 2016 season, Stubbs put together a really good team. When you've got McGinn, McGeoch, Scott Allen, lost for it, like Fontaine, Henderson, Fraser Fivey coming in.
Yeah.
Did you Frank to JJ?
Do you know that's a good team? Do you know when you're in the middle of it and you're going through the season and you're starting to put in performances and you're seeing players like McGinn coming through, McGeoch emerging? Do you see that when you're playing and thinking, actually, we've got a bit about us here?
I felt just the quality in training and everything. I felt like it was a team probably better than Hibs team I'd been involved in the last 5 years before that. I think if we were in the SPL as that team, we would have done pretty well. So I knew we were going in, as I said, we were going in the right direction. And I think it showed in our cup runs we would regularly beat Premiership opposition, and it was just getting that consistency sometimes in the league. And obviously, to be fair to Hearts, they done well that first season. Rangers were strong the next season in the Championship, so it was going to be tough. But 3 years is obviously longer than we wanted, but we got there now.
Aye.
And could you see there was or could you feel there was a culture change happening? Because obviously, had a few things. You had people like beginning Cummins coming in who seemed like total jokers, which we kind of lacked a bit in the past, seeming like total big characters. We were winning big games against like Aberdeen, Rangers. We were by far the better teams in derbies. Then also even stuff like I think we seem to get more athletic now. They were like, for example, people like you, Hanlon, like McGregor, John McGinn, really bulked up and like a lot more muscular. Seemed to be a lot more effort into fitness. So
Probably,
did you feel there was like a total culture change?
I would say there was a lot more onus on sports science at that age, that time. I don't know if it was just the way football was going in general or the staff we had, but honestly, we couldn't. You need to walk through to the physio room, you need to walk through the gym, and you couldn't get through the gym with the sports science making you day like the hardest workout ever. Do you know what I mean? And at the time, we moaned, but it was probably good, and I think that culture's still there. I remember when I first came in at Hibs, it was like you're almost looked down upon going to the gym. It's like busy, we can't like fucking trying to better yourself. How dare you? Kind of. I think that was just football in general at the time, but it's totally different now. That the gym at East Mains is the busiest place every day before training and after training, and like football's changed. It feels like a different sport. Even when I first played, everyone's a lot more athletic and bigger, stronger, and if you didn't keep up, then you're going to get left behind, as the saying goes.
Aye, what's there a difference going from like again just talking about the dressing room characters and such, like going from what was seemingly quite a deflated dressing room, like constant lone players coming in and that, to then having the solidarity of people like McGinn, Boyle, Cummins, Bartley, like
even like Liam Craig, Scott
personality.
Robertson, they were all like
Aye,
good characters in the change room, nice people, and they had that. They'd played in the leagues before. They played in Scotland. They played at a good level. They knew the game, and probably just like game management and stuff as well. It did help us. We were probably a bit naive at times, and people like that probably helped us too. But you do need that mix of old heads and, as you said, young people like Cummins and that do really lift the spirits. Boyle came in that season as well and done well, and obviously the King Malonga as well. He was there, so it was a great memories. Even it was in the Championship, some great memories with some long-term friends I made.
See, so that season we lost the League Cup final to Ross County and then lost the playoff to Falkirk, which were two, if you think about it, for a club the size of Hibs in the Championship, no getting promoted, and then getting to a cup final and no winning it against, although Ross County were like a Premiership team at the time, I think everybody fancied Hibs for it to go and win. There was a real danger that could have just ended the club. You know, Eric had a feel-good factor about the club at all. And you still had the Scottish Cup to go. How did you get over those disappointments to set up for the Scottish Cup?
I don't know how we done it, like, because if you remember, it was all that Hibs stuff, and it was, oh man, it was horrible. Just the weight felt like the weight of the world on your shoulders, and the only way we could have kind of resurrected that season was to win the Scottish Cup, and thankfully we done it, because I don't know what the backlash would have been if we didn't manage to do that.
So if you didn't mind us dwelling on the cup run for a wee bit, because like obviously that's a highlight for everybody.
Yeah.
We started off away to Raith Rovers that season with McGregor and Malonga scoring.
That's right.
Next game, Josh, was the derby, wasn't it? We played Hearts next, and then Inverness.
that was had the Tynecastle game, Easter Road game, and then had the replay at Inverness.
So the derby, Lewis, I see you've been involved in tons of derbies over the years. Some good ones, some not so good ones. When you're going to that one at Tynecastle, 2-0 down at half time, what you thinking about what's happening in the dressing room?
We didn't panic. I don't think it was a 2-0 game. We were it's probably pretty even. And the manager at the time said, he said, look, they'll sit back. He said, he always kind of said that they were a negative team. As soon as they get out, they sit back. And I couldn't believe how negative they really went. They kind of just sat back and almost waiting for us to score. And it seemed to kind of be, not that we were creating many chances, but we had a lot of the ball. And I felt like if we got that goal, then they would crumble. You felt the tension of their fans, our fans were getting louder. And just a defining moment of my career and Hibs'
history.
football career and Hibs history. Yeah.
And so Hanlon equalised, and obviously the Hibs fans gone wild. But I think Hearts hit the bar.
That's right. And I think kind of people forget
the line.
I think Tom only headed it on the line or headed it off the line or something. Which you almost forget about. But after that, the home leg was pretty plain sailing. I think it was only 1-0, but I think it was pretty comfortable. A great ball for Dave and good finish by Jason. And look, it was a pretty started, and we kind of started against Inverness the game after that. We played Inverness. The next leg was Inverness. I think that was a direct game after the Ross County game.
It was,
so we couldn't be any lower. That was the game that probably, I know there wasn't a lot of people there, but that was a game that at the time meant so much to everyone involved at the club.
Just if I go back to the derby, the one at Easter Road for the replay.
Sorry, I just rambled on.
I know that's all right. Did you know, like going into that one, the way the last game had finished, I was coming back for 2 goals behind. When you got in that one, did you feel you had to beat into them?
Aye, I could tell in the tunnel and everything that we were in a good place. The pressure was on them because, as you said, they were 2-0 up. And honestly, that's probably the most confident I've been going into a derby. I knew we were going to win that day. And that's just one of the other derbies that I just really want to pump them one time. I've never really. 2 goals is probably the most I've beat them by, and they've been there for the taking a few times. So that's definitely one that I'm still haunts me, that I've never actually given them a good scene.
There's been a few times where it's been close, but like close to being a pumping.
Aye, that's it. There's ones that kind of like we've been 1-0 up, 2-0 up, and they'll score at the break of the ball, and it's just kind of dampens it. I remember one game where I was probably like, get the ball, this is it, come on, let's go, and we're all running back. And you was like, huh? Like, we're 2-0 up, why you want to run and get the ball? But, that was just a selfish thing that I've always wanted to pump them.
You've almost scored a couple of bangers in derbies. I mean, the original Scottish Cup derby there, the 2-2. After we scored, there was a couple of minutes where I think you skinned your man, cut inside in the box, and went to call one far corner with the right foot, and the keeper made a really good save. And then there was one against the Heckingbottom 1-1, where you almost scored from about 40 yards against them. Now that is
I'm glad you remember them, Josh, because I can't really.
That is maybe one of the most surprising moments in my life. That I don't know if you know the shot I'm talking about, Dad or John. We're sitting there in the 1-1 derby at Easter Road. I think it was one of the last games Heckingbottom played where we were still quite positive. But look, you got the ball for free kick about 40 yards out. You just hit one. And just about right corner.
No, I remember that.
And I've never been so surprised to see you almost hit the stand for 40 yards.
I think it was my bad technique for the shot, but the ball was moving all over the shot. Not that I meant it, just missed it.
It was meant as a long diagonal volley.
I remember Sutton was supposedly saying in the comments, like, what is he doing? Why is he hitting it from there? As you say, it nearly went in on his goal and nearly parried it or something.
And then we had the semi-final that season against Dundee United, and obviously Conrad Logan came in, and there's been loads written and said about Conrad Logan coming in, the first impressions and that kind of thing. And so I think really need to dwell on it, but that game was really defined by 2 moments. One was Cummins with his penalty, and then Conrad Logan after that. What do you remember about the game, Lewis?
Not much. I don't think we played well, but I know they had a few chances in that, but it wasn't like, it was probably quite an even game. As you said, Conrad, they had a few 1-on-1s and Conrad kept us in it. He was obviously a top guy, and you say first impressions, we couldn't believe he was a player. When he came in, he was kind of hanging over the physio bed getting his medical done, and just a top guy as well. And I know what Jason done that day, but it was plenty of courage to go up, and he's the most confident guy in the world. But I still remember him at the halfway line in the penalty shootout, like scratching. So the most nervous I've been is it my turn to hit the penalty? It's like, and it just wasn't him. I was like, oh no, he's absolutely gone here. He's going to miss, and managed to slot it away. And I looked, we owe a lot to Conrad that day because he probably did keep us in it.
What number of penalty would you have taken?
I think I was after Conrad. Conrad was 10 and I was 11. To be fair, I've only hit one penalty in a shootout and scored one, so I'm doing right. I was into Joe Lewis as well, so it's not a bad feat to score a head down, bang, straight in the middle. It's not that I'm giving it away if anyone else.
Has there ever been a moment that's made you go, oh, for fuck's sake, more than Cummins' penalty then? Because I don't think there's been one in the game there for us.
Nah, see, with Jason, you just never know. You always expect the unexpected, so like if it went in, he'd be the best player in the world. So I can't complain too much. He pulled us out the shit a few times, so he's maybe due us one. Maybe not a Scottish Cup semi-final range.
I should have said in his interview after that he did the Pirlo haircut. Go for the penalty.
That's what I'm rocking now with the lockdown haircut.
Did you think, oh for fuck's sake, when he had his handball against Dundee United?
Be honest, I can't remember that.
Diving header.
I forgot about that.
I forgot that too.
And then on to the final then. So we'd had quite a good record against Rangers that season. We beat them 3-2 just a few weeks before, I'm sure, in the league when Gunnarsson scored the winner.
Yeah.
What was the build up like? What was it like going into that game, Lewis?
I was still as nervous. I don't know if I'm a pessimist or that, but I don't know. I didn't have a good feeling. Everyone was buzzing, thinking about. But see, looking back, when you see the two teams on paper, that they probably should have beat them. I think, especially the three in midfield, they had like Halliday. I can't remember those two. Zelalem,
the boy that played
Arsenal. I don't know. Just all round, I thought we probably had a team that could hold their own. And that three in the middle, especially with Dylan, Fide, and John, I think really could have controlled the game and won it for us. But like Rangers had some good players. I think Wycombe was playing, and he's gone on to have a decent career in the Championship after that. But me and him had some good battles that season, and they had a good team. But as I say, looking back, maybe I should have been more confident going it because we had a good team, and as you said, we showed it on the day.
And again, I suppose I asked the question about when you're playing Hearts and knowing when you're in the game that you've got a good chance of winning. I think when we were in the stands, even when Rangers went 2-1 up, I'd say to Josh, can look at him because Josh was kind of getting panicked about it, and I said, "Well, we'll get a chance. Like the way we're playing, we would get we would get another chance." When we went behind that game, did you think here we go again, or did you still feel?
That's kind of because we'd done it right. I was like, I probably was thinking here we go again. It's kind of same old Hibs that I could see the headlines written already. And like Stokesy was unbelievable that day. It was funny because John Doolan used to say to him before every game, honestly, for about 20 games in a row, he's like, "This is the one, Stokesy. This is what he signed you for." Every day, but it failed. And I seen him do it at the Scottish Cup, and fucking hell, I hope he's right this time because we were waiting for 6 months for him to play well. And he was unbelievable that day. He was like Tavernier's one of the best fullbacks I've played against, one of the best fullbacks now as well. And Stokesy was unplayable that day. He could have won it. He could have won it himself. We all kind of had our moments doing all right for the team, but Stokesy was brilliant that day. And John Doolan got his wish. That was the day he turned up. And I would have took that. Like if they told me he wasn't going to kick a ball for 6 months and play that in the final, I'd be happy.
We're all taking that. And then so we get the game back to 2 each, and then obviously it goes into injury time, and David Gray scores the winner. When that goal goes in, what are you thinking?
Again, I was talking about proper, like my legs were like jelly. I was like proper panicking, like hyperventilating. I didn't even, by the time the celebrations went up, I was at the halfway line with the corner. And the time I kind of got halfway there, everyone was coming back. And I was just like proper panicking. I just felt like a wee boy man on a football pitch. And they had a ball where they like switched it. I think me and John kind of got caught under the game, got caught underneath it, and it was like, oh, like, it just felt like I wasn't in control of my body. It just felt like I was watching myself playing, and just that moment when they thought they were getting the free kick and we ended up getting the free kick. That's when it hit home, and just a proper relief more than anything. It was, people speak how I felt in it, and it was genuinely like a weight off my shoulders, a relief rather than an exuberance of winning the cup.
And then full time, obviously the fans come on, you go off, and what was happening? That bit of time before between the full time whistle and getting up to collect the cup. What's life like amongst the Hibs players at that moment?
Man, it's a bit of a blur. Like, I can't mind much yet, but we're kind of just asking what happened on the pitch. Obviously, we're kind of getting, honestly, see the amount of people that have come up and said, "Oh, look, I've got a photo pitch." It must have been 1,000 photos I got from getting through my left back bit to the tunnel. It was weird. They were obviously all buzzing and that, but I think everyone kind of had a wee moment to themselves just to kind of let it sink in. I remember seeing Dave in the changing room, just bawling his eyes out with tears, and we were all the same. It was an emotional day, and something that will never be matched for me anyway.
Davy Gray was greeting in the changing room.
Oh shit! I'm better not give that away.
That's a revelation. It's funny. It's funny because I would imagine
maybe it was just champagne. Maybe just champagne rolling down his head.
It's funny because I can imagine like players like yourself, Paul Hanlon, being perhaps the most emotional on that day because of the connection with the club, because of the amount of time that he spent with the club. So that's quite surprising for. Like, I mean, obviously he's gone down in legend because he was the guy that ended the hoodoo.
Even just the way the season had gone, obviously we were at rock bottom after the League Cup final and playoffs as well. We couldn't have been any lower. So if we go into there, it made it even feeling even more better.
It's one of my favourite memories of the whole day. I say a memory of the day because we didn't really see it so much for where we were sitting. But when you watch the footage back and you're second to get the cup, and you never see anybody look, it is like just raw emotion, head back. You're like, fucking yes, still
amazing.
I've
got that photo up a few places in the house, like so. Just
Josh got it as
magnificent feeling. Oh, nice. It was funny because I was at the back. Me and Paul were kind of just at the back of the line, and it was Taff, who was one of the coaches at the time, said, "You get yourself down to the front. You know what this means for this club. You've been through everything. Get yourself." And at the time, I was like, "What's he on about?" So I've just went back Dave, and he's kind of spoke to Fonts, who's the assistant captain or second captain, whatever it's called.
Vice.
And Fonts like, of course, vice captain.
Deputy head boy.
Deputy head boy. So look, it's nice, and obviously got that big photo outside Easter Road and stuff, and like a great feeling. And I'll be honest, I didn't know how much it meant before I signed with Hibs. I was, from Kirkcaldy, Rafe Rovers fan. I didn't know a lot about Hibs' history, but for the 14 years or whatever it was before that being involved in this club, I knew how much it meant. That first trip, as I spoke about going to Ireland, people were saying, "Is this going to be a year?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what are they talking about?" Boys, Scottish Cup, they're going about every year. This is going to be the year, and I managed to hang on in there till I done it. So it was unbelievable. I'll never forget that moment.
How many days did it take you to get home? Were you out as long as Stokesay?
No, I wasn't that bad. Some of my family that was out, so I actually came home that night, went back out for the parade. I probably should have made the most of it. I know one of the boys woke up in a skip. I'll not name any names, but I'm sure
Are
you'll
his
be able
initials
to
JC
work
by any chance?
John Collins has got a room.
What do you remember of the parade, Lewis? What was that like for the top of the bus?
I genuinely didn't know how big it was going to be. I had to taste it after the League Cup final. It was at night. It was kind of. I've still got some of the photos on my phone. It's crazy. Eh? Like, we still show people that, like, new players that come up, like those photos, and I was like, that's mental. That's like bigger than we've ever seen before. It's like a carnival of Rio or something. It's crazy, and obviously just showed how much it meant to half the people in the city.
It was great. Next season we get promoted under Lennon. Well, you've spoken before about how Lennon probably got the best out of you. What was it about Neil Lennon that ticked the boxes for you?
Probably just sheer fear, fear and also when I let him down. Nah, like he was a hard manager to please, but he probably did get the best at me and the best at like my teammates at the time. Kind of, I remember him always saying like whatever happens, I will drag you fucking cunts over this finish line. We will get promoted, and it kind of felt like that at times that season because we probably didn't play that well at times, but we managed to get the job done. It was a sticky season. We never really got a good run going, but he did kind of pull us over the line that year, and I know maybe not that year, but the year after that was a great season to be involved in. One of our most enjoyable seasons when we first got promoted. But I've probably jumped the gun and you're going to.
No, you're all right. Because Lennon, obviously, we had the European, 2 seasons in Europe for winning the cup, and then the next season for the league position. What was your memories, or what did you enjoy about playing in Europe?
Just some bad memories in Europe before that, and it was nice to go on a decent the Bromby game, and we held our own against a good European team, and we didn't look out of place. I always remember that Lennon kind of set his stall that night because I think he was banned for one of the legs in the Bromby game.
Yeah.
Away, and he came in like 10 minutes after. We're kind of giving ourselves a pat on the back, saying, "Wow, we actually beat Bromby away. Got unlucky, get beat on penalties." So we're sitting there. He storms down, slams the door when he's singing, "Fucking you! How the fuck did you take it?" Sorry about my accent. I'll just do a normal accent. Why did you hit that fucking penalty? Who let John hit the penalty? And it's just like, fuck him. Here we go. He's like, and that just kind of set his stall for the whole season. It was he didn't accept mediocrity. We wanted to be winners. Didn't care who we were playing against. We were playing the Old Firm. If we didn't win, he would be raging. We were getting some draws in that home at Celtic and Rangers, and he'd come in and be raging. We didn't win it, and I was thinking, that's a total different Hibs mentality of what a lot of us have been used to.
And do you prefer it? Do you like? I kind of sounds like an obvious question, but
it's totally what we need. It's totally what we needed there. We kind of maybe got in a comfort zone, and to be fair, imagine now he talks about it, it's like Hibs kind of bump along, win a few games here and there, and I think like everyone kind of accepts it. I think too many teams in Scotland accept it because we're used to Rangers and Celtic winning everything. I think Aberdeen maybe stopped the trend a wee bit. They kind of got a bit of, but you do need to be ruthless. You can't all play pretty football here and there and win a few games, lose a few games. You're not going to get success that way. You need to be hard to beat. You need to grind it wins the ugly way, and I think that's part of the success this season, that we know how to do it, how we win ugly.
And you, one of the times I remember was you playing centre half at Ibrox and us winning. Was that a wee surprise for you getting picked at centre half?
Aye, I was captain that day as well. Captain at Porteous' first game, and Effie and Porto, and Brandon Back was playing left wing back. But he's like, fuck this team.
He did hamstring or something, didn't he? Before we got cut off, Lewis, that Brandon Barker was playing in front of you.
Aye, and he seen what was coming, so 10 minutes in, he got a tight hammy. I actually remember him, we were having pre-match meal and he's watching videos of like Jordi Alba, Marcus Alonso, how to play left back. So he was obviously, the nerves got...
Was it on YouTube for a tutorial?
So the nerves got the better 10 minutes in. You'd be surprised the things that go on in football. Like, you just turn up and watch the game, but you'd be surprised what people watch and stuff like that. I can imagine I've just seen people watching a lot worse than that, but he was actually watching tutorials on how to play left back and left wing back.
Was the fact he was Googling for Kajabi's free kick that really concerned you?
And obviously we won that game because I think we got the penalty at the end of it. We won the game 2-1.
Aye, so, I was saying that earlier before you cut off. I was probably one of my proudest moments being captain that day in a very makeshift team, and like I think everyone probably feared the worst when the team got read out, and when I got told I was playing centre half, I was kind of thinking. But the manager said to me at the time, he was like, he could see me playing there. especially in old firm games, we didn't just bang it along and it's aerial balls all the time. It was more reading of the game and covering the space in behind. He thought it would be good, and look, as a back three, we done pretty well that day. I don't think it was a back three that stuck around for very long. Like we all kind of got back to normal position sooner after that.
I was just going to ask, were you on YouTube as well, looking for tutorials on how to play centre half?
Cannavaro, small Cannavaro.
So you obviously had a good season, Lewis, and you got yourself into the Scotland squad as well. How was that?
Yeah, that was mad. It was weird. We had booked a family holiday to go to Florida. Like obviously it cost a fair bit of money. It was like one of these once in a lifetime holidays, and I got the phone call after the derby. We got beaten. I didn't play well, and I thought somebody was taking the piss. It was a guy called Frank Riley, and there was a guy. Anyway, I thought he was taking the piss. So I kind of yeah, okay. And then he phoned me back saying, "Lewis, this is Frank, member for the 21s." And I knew it. I was like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "I've got someone here to speak to," and it was Alex McLeish. And he said, "Look, we called you up. You had a great season." And Andy and Kieran couldn't make it, so they needed some backup. And it was funny because I was like, "Look, I've got this holiday." I was like, "My sister's going to go mental." So I kind of said to her, "Like, this is like, I'm sure worried telling her." And she's like, "What have you told them?" It's like, "What do you mean? What have I told them?" He's like, "You can't go. We've got this holiday. Like the kids will be devastated." I'm like, so he's phoned me again. He said, "Look, I just got for the Tony thing." He's like, what you thinking about this holiday?" I was like, "Obviously I want to come and play for Scotland. It's like once in a lifetime opportunity. I'm no daft. Might never get this opportunity again." He said, "Well, why don't you come kind of help us out, like come play the first game and you can fly back." So I only missed like 4-5 days of holiday, and he let me fly back after the Peru game, which was like really good of him. And see, for an outsider, seeing like Stevenson's, I only came down and played one game on holiday. It was I could see why folk thinking what a cheeky thing to do, but like Alex McLeish was a lot easier to talk to than my wife was that day. It was obviously some experience of just flying first class to Peru and being involved with the team, and just another thing I could tick off in my career, and something I kind of gave up on. I played a few games. I kind of played Scotland youth teams for like 15s all the way up to 21s, and I was 30 at that time. So obviously I gave up playing for Scotland to some of the best left backs in the world. So I couldn't really complain, and the chance came up, and a great experience for me.
It's a nice way to round up. Not round off the career. Obviously, you're still playing, but if you look back, it's your fifth in the appearance record for Hibs, League Cup win, Scottish Cup win, Scotland International. When you were starting off, obviously kind of choosing between politics at Dundee or the Hibs career, you probably wouldn't have seen the future that you had.
Nowhere near that. If somebody told me I'd played 20 games in the SPL, and I would have bit their hand off when I was a wee dafty at 15, 16, running about the links market. Is that in Kirkcaldy? So like now I realise like how well I've done, and I'm proud of myself and proud of the career I've had, and been privileged to play at Hibs for so long.
It's good for a fan's perspective, Lewis. It's rare that I think you see, like, I think it's fair to say you've not always been like number one fans' favourite. Do you know, like for the whole duration that you've been in, but I wouldn't ken any Hibs fan now that doesn't have you as a favourite. Do you know, like that it's like that path.
I ken a few.
Well, but generally speaking, you know, when we said in the podcast, we kind of put a wee teaser out on Twitter earlier on that we were having you on the night, and I think the first 4 or 5 messages were folks saying, "Tell him I love him," like that, and it's kind of like you know, it's a really good thing to have. And you're obviously now seeing Josh Doy coming through. What's the future like for you? Because I presume you're still making first team appearances, and you're not showing any signs of slowing down. So what's the future look like for you? You've got to play for another few years.
Look, I've signed another year contract, and like I know myself that that games are probably going to become less and less. Josh has obviously came in and done brilliant, and even Sean Mackey, when he's played this season, has done really well. He's had a few injury problems. So I look, if it's coming on, helping Josh, or if maybe Josh has a bad run of form and I need to play, and different kind of games will suit me. And the gaffer's been brilliant with me. He's had plenty of conversations with me that I'm still a valued member of the squad, and it's weird. I've almost enjoyed this season as much as any other one, and even though obviously not played as much as I usually have, but I'm 33-year-old. There's not that many 33-year-old fullbacks or wing backs in the league, so I can't complain. I said it's a great place to be. We're having a successful season, and if I can help Josh in any way, then I'll do that.
Just
But I
moving
just touch on that as well, where you're talking about, like, you kind of. I remember seeing you're a young boy coming through, and I felt like when I come through, like, oh, you're the next big king, everyone loves you. Then you have that wee dip, you're not quite as good, and everyone hates you for a while. You come back, you do all right. So, I've had that relationship with the fans as well, where you. So I just urge fans now to, like, I know everyone's going brilliant with Josh now, but just stick with him, even if he has a bad spell, then he like flipping throw. You know what I mean?
Aye.
Stick with him, and he's maybe going to have a dip. I mean, he's only 18-year-old. It's scary to think how many games he's already played, and he plays with that maturity, the stature he's got. Just remember the age. He probably will at some point have a dip. That if we do manage to hold on to him as long as we can, and he's been brilliant as well. I've got no complaints. Or it's just good seeing a young boy coming through and doing well and establishing himself in the first team. Albeit to my me sitting on the bench.
You're not going to be voodoo doll out yet. He's kind of
Nah,
his legs
I'm
out
not like that. I'm not like that. I'm enjoying the break of it. It's nice to wake up on a Sunday morning knowing absolute agony. So,
do you see yourself going into coaching? Sorry, Josh.
I was saying that to Josh when I see him in Tesco when he was hunting me down for this podcast the other week. That I started my I've started doing my A license last week, so I've done my B license a few years ago. I didn't. I'll never do adult coaching. I'm not really interested in that, but definitely want to get involved in with kids coaching at some stage, and just with the foundation me and Paul have got as well, and just with the academy and that as well. And to be honest, part of me wants to get in there just because I know the mistakes that some of the coaching I got when I was younger was terrible, and I just think I'd be able to give some good tips and maybe learn from the mistakes that I didn't have when I was younger, and just give kids an opportunity to have a decent career and tell people if they've got the opportunity to sign a contract and not do politics, then do that.
One of the things I was going to ask you about was the foundation. So that came in the back of your testimonial year. What prompted you to do that? Obviously, that's an amazing thing to do. What was behind that?
Well, like me and Paul had money we still wanted to give to charity, and it was actually Graham who was in charge. He was like the chairman of both our testimonials. We all kind of spoke, and he's like, "Look, I think you've got a good time going. I think you should try and keep it going and give someone back." And it was going really well. It's obviously took a step back with all the COVID stuff and that, but look, it kind of started off. I couldn't believe how much people had to pay to play football. Like kids to join these classes, it's a wee bit different. It's a wee bit cheaper in Fife, but it's like £40-50 for some people to join a football team. Kind of outsourcing. Like a lot of people can't afford that, especially with 2 and 3 kids. So it's but the main premise is to try and like give free football for everybody, but it's obviously been hard to do recently. Or just make it cheaper. I didn't blame the clubs because I know how much facilities and stuff cost. It's not like people are making millions for it. It's just the way the system is. Football should be for everyone. It's the national sport. And when we were younger, everyone played really. You'd go and you'd kick a ball about, and even if you did join a team, it was like you'd pay your subs. It was whatever your mum and dad. I used to go up with 50p, £1 sometimes, and that would be it. But it seems to be, I don't know. It seems to be a lot different nowadays.
It's a good thing, really good thing to do, and I think it speaks measures of yourself and Paul that you would, kind of take it upon yourselves to do that and put your names to it. So congratulations for doing that.
We've put our names to it, but to be fair, there's a lot of people in, like we work with street soccer and helping hands, and they're hands on. They do so much work in the community. So it's people like that really deserve the praise. We're just kind of figureheads, and we'll try and raise some money and see if we can make a wee bit of difference.
Good stuff. Josh, John, anything you want to ask before we let Lewis get his evening back? Kind of taking up more time than we intended to, Lewis. I apologise for that.
Oh, it's fine, that's all right.
I've got 2 quick questions, if that's all right. I'll get absolutely slaughtered off my mates if I didn't ask them. So, how daft did Lennon go at you for wearing the wrong boots at Tynecastle?
How did you know that one? That was that honestly, see if you could be a final on that team talk, that was someone else. I think that we had gone like 18 games unbeaten, and he was like, "Oh, fucking sick of watching it." He was like telling us he was going to leave and that, and be like, "Oh, here we go," and he went around everybody, yellow boots, green boots, pink boots. Oh, it was just so but like that night we obviously didn't play well, and you kind of just have to suck it up. But I had the biggest lids I could possibly wear on that night, and I was still slipping. So
no big enough for Lennon.
I don't know why I had it. No big enough for Lennon. No.
The other question I was going to ask was on behalf of my mate's wee laddie. So his name's Daniel, and a couple of years back, I think he visited the training centre, or it was perhaps at Linlithgow's ground, and he gave you a miniature Scottish Cup replica. I don't know if you'll remember it.
I do actually. I remember somebody gave me one of them, so it must have been young Daniel.
Aye, young Daniel. So I was just wondering where the Scottish Cup replica is now.
The Scottish Cup is in. I think that's what I drink my cups of tea in the morning. I came out, I've put all my kind of memorabilia in a big box upstairs. So it might even be pride in place beside the actual Scottish Cup medal. You know? If
you're ever looking to sell some of that stuff, Daniel's dad would be all over it.
Oh, really? I'll
Oh,
find that
definitely.
cup. I can't sell a cup to his dad that his sons gave me.
No. Keep the cup. Keep the cup. It's the shirts that he's interested in.
Oh, right.
He tried to buy.
I've actually tried to. It was actually Deke Red, and it told me. He said, "Try and keep some of your stuff," because I remember at the start he used to give everything away, and I think that was one of his biggest regrets. He used to give all his stuff away, and he had nothing for his kids or that when he was older. So I've always tried to keep a strip, like a home and away strip, through all the seasons I've played. So we can imagine I've got a few up there. Gathering dust in the attic, but I've not got a lot of memorabilia, but definitely strips is something I've tried to keep.
Nice. Well, Lewis, thanks very much for taking the time out to speak to us this evening. It's been an absolute privilege and an honour listening to you talking about it. So,
I must always get on me for being too depressing and boring, so I hope I've not been that bad.
No, not at all. It's a nice change for us talking about getting reach arounds for gorillas and stuff like that. So,
I'm even more interested in that one. Maybe I can get invited on for the next week.
I'll leave you with that thought for the night. Thanks again for coming on, Lewis. It's been great speaking to you, mate.
Cheers, guys.
Take care. Thanks for listening, folks.
Tesco, Josh, you can help me.
I was just about
again that day.
was just about to say that, mate. I'll get you.
I was waiting to phone security. So somebody's following me. No, it's just sneaking up behind me.
Cheers, that's Colonel. Thanks for listening, folks.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We'll catch you next time.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. Nice to meet you again.
Cheers, Lewis.
Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee. I don't drink water, no